Hey everyone, this is Patty Molloy with Positive Listening Radio, and we are coming to you from Level 9 Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah.
And my co-host for tonight and moderator is my wonderful son and stand-up comedian, PJ Molloy.
Yes.
He's off camera over there. Say hi.
Hello.
And our special guest tonight on our first live stream, we're breaking the barrier here, is my friend and the wonderful musician, drummer, Walfredo Reyes Jr. de los Band Chicago.
De los Band Chicago. Sí.
Thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Oh, my pleasure. It was really great that I'm in town.
That's right.
That's a miracle.
So you're off tour. You did a spring tour with Chicago?
Yeah, we just came from like 3.5 weeks, something like that, and we have a little break now, and then we start the tour with REO Speedwagon in June 13.
Okay. So what are you doing with your downtime?
Actually, revisiting friends, and like last night I went to this Filipino event show with great singers. My friend Michael O'Neill, guitarist with George Benson, was producing one of the artists. I ate Filipino food, and tomorrow I'm going to go and see Santa Fe at the
Bootlegger?
Monday night at Bootlegger. So, and then working on my house, I'm working on my things, because you cannot do it while you're on the road. So.
No, that's
and
true.
I have my sisters here, nieces, nephew. The last break I went to LA, so I didn't stay in Vegas. I went to see in April. We had a break.
Mm-hmm.
So I was with my son, my daughter, and play some gigs in LA. But I'm never sitting down watching TV in my time off.
Nope. Yeah, we were worried because I woke up with a pimple, and you had a sty yesterday.
Yeah,
that's
still
done.
recuperating. My eyes a little red. It's not because I'm doing anything.
No. It's the heat here in Vegas too. It's very dry.
Yeah.
This is why we have our waters here.
And
See?
I'm getting smart already with smart water.
Making sure we stay hydrated. We got our Ricolas. We're good to go.
Yes.
So the way we're going to work it, everyone, is we're going to go through our standard interview, and then at the second half, we're going to be taking your comments and questions for Wally. PJ is going to be fielding your questions, and then he'll be asking them to us because I don't have my glasses on, and I'm way too vain to put my glasses on. So I'm not reading the screen. And so whoever's saying
I can't read it either.
Yeah, so whoever's saying hello, hello back, but we're not going to be reading the screen. We're going to be talking. Basically, you guys are peeking into my interview process. You've heard a lot of my interviews with a lot of different celebrities over the years, and now you're getting to see the process. So we'll let you know when we're ready to take your questions and comments. PJ will be reading them to us, and then Wally will be happy to answer them. Don't give me any questions because I'm not that interesting. So,
No.
Wally, you were born in Cuba, raised in Puerto Rico and Las Vegas. That's an interesting upbringing. So, talk to us about how you got from Cuba to Puerto Rico to Vegas.
Well, my dad, my whole family are musicians. So when the revolution happened and Batista was ousted and then Fidel Castro came in, the first thing, the hotels were closed and shut. So my dad used to work at the Hotel Nacional, but he was working in New York, Miami. So he went to New York and got a gig immediately and came to Cuba and got me and my sister. And we moved to New York thinking that maybe one day we might return. It's just right now it was not happening. So he went out, and while we were in New York, he remarried my stepmom, Matilda, which raised me. My mom died when I was 5 in Cuba. So my dad remarried. We were in New York, and Fidel Castro, basically Cuba was closed, shut down, things got worse. So after a year, Puerto Rico opened, and a lot of gigs happened in Puerto Rico. So my dad went to Puerto Rico and was working in Hotel San Juan all through the 60s, all the way through 1970. And that's why I was raised from 5 to about 12. And it was in Puerto Rico that I started getting, I was a rocker. So there was a lot of guys that, of course, like the Latin, but I was always like Puerto Rican hippie kid.
Mm-hmm.
And wanted to go to Woodstock, and I loved all the American radio and British bands, and I wanted always to do that was my music. But meanwhile, my dad was a jazz guy, and he was playing all the jazz records. And my mom in the living room had all the salsa and Latin records, Tito Puente, this and that. So if you stood in the hall of my house in Puerto Rico, it was like Chicago, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Jimi Hendrix, Cream, Buddy Rich coming from my dad's bedroom, Buddy Rich Big Band, Louis Bellson, Miles Davis, Tony Williams, and my mom in the living room dancing to salsa. So basically that's kind of what I became. And I started studying drums, and then we moved to Las Vegas in 1970.
Awesome. Do you have siblings?
Yes, I have me. Next is Lily that works. She used to work with Siegfried and Roy, actually,
wow,
until the accident. And then now she works as secretary of the Sands Hotel CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Danny that plays with Zach Brown Band.
Right. And he played with Chicago for a bit?
Yeah, off and on. He played with us in February, and then he's touring now with Zach Brown Band. And then we have my sister Ilde, which lives 10 minutes from me. Cool. And cooks great Cuban and Puerto Rican food. And she works at the Venetian, mm-hmm. VIP. And then we have Kamar, which is an actor, was in One Life to Live. And his wife, Sherry Som, was in The Fosters. And then I have another brother, Johnny Scandros, which lives also in Vegas. And he wasn't raised with us, but he is my brother nevertheless. And we recently had a party at his house, and he heads the app company called Scruff, and he's really doing great. And it's a really happy family, and we're spread out all over mm-hmm. the place. But Vegas was a turnaround. I moved to LA after I lived here, and I moved back in November.
It's a great place to live. I've been here for a year this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
1 year.
From New York.
That's a big change.
Yeah, it is. But it's a happy change.
Yes.
We picked Las Vegas because there were no natural disasters, except for me. I'm the natural disaster in Las Vegas. But there's no earthquakes, there's no tornadoes, there's no hurricanes.
That's true.
The big natural disasters are people that lose all their money on the Strip.
That's right. And actually in the 1970s, there was like a big flood and flooded the Caesar's Palace and all that. And it was fixed for that never to happen. So that's what they destroyed all the freeways and the streets. And so that was never again, it has happened.
Wow.
So that's really great.
So how old were you when you first felt the desire to play a drum? Were you banging on pots as a kid?
That's funny because I was thinking of that on the way here. I'm not the drummer that can say I was banging on pots and pans. And no, I always loved music. Mm-hmm. And I actually, before doing the pots and pans, I actually played with the broom. It was like when I was in the third grade, something like that. Sang to Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand. So I wanted to play music, but I hadn't decided what instrument. Mm-hmm. And so because of my dad being a percussionist, immediately I picked up the percussion for fun. We used to play in the beach, used to play Christmas song and all that. But it wasn't until I got really serious that I really wanted to make music. And I think most likely it was more like I wanted the drums were more accessible to me. So I used the drums as a vehicle to make music, the music that I wanted to do, which was, and this is really still freaky, but my first two albums that I bought with my own money was Cream and CTA.
Wow.
So I used to visualize and look at this, listening to the song, and then see Chicago 2, which we're playing now. I used to open up the album, and that poster that came in Chicago 2 I had in my wall, and I used to read the lyrics and look at that. And then, when Abraxas came out, I bought Abraxas and the same thing. I remember opening up, and they were set up on stage playing Chapito and Michael Shreve and Greg. And I was going, this is what I want to do. I want to play for people. And then later on, moved to Las Vegas, and a band named Traffic came out, and I went like, who is this? Stevie Winwood. Oh, the same guy that played Give Me Some Loving and saying I'm a man. He's got a band named Traffic, like Tráfico. They ran out of names, and so it was just really ironic that after all that forward into the future, I play with these bands, and I'm playing with Chicago now, and I still haven't figured out what that was about. I don't know if you visualize it or you attract it and you do the homework and just go for it until it happens. And I don't know if that was, it's almost like a movie in reverse.
Yeah, I believe that you do create your own reality. And because, you know, I was a street kid in Brooklyn, and, you know, we didn't have anything. We were poor. And I had the Chicago posters on my wall. My first concert when I was 14 years old. My friend's older brother took me to see Chicago at Carnegie Hall. Oh, and I said, whoa.
You mean like when the album,
they
recorded that album, the album?
Yeah.
Carnegie Hall.
And
you were there.
I was there. We were in the last row. We got scalper seats. We paid $9 for scalper seats. Back then it was outrageous because the tickets were like $2. And I looked at there. I was like, wow, what's that? I saw Peter Cetera there and Terry Kath, and I said, one day I'm going to work for them, and you just create your reality. Keith has a similar story where he used to listen to Chicago, and then now he's playing, you know, so it's interesting, and it's crazy how you can create your own reality.
Yeah.
But you listening to all those different bands and then playing for all the same people.
It was
wild.
You know, I mean, of course it mattered that my dad moved to Las Vegas. It was closer to LA, and then I moved in 1980 to LA after I worked a lot in the Strip. So I wanted to play music. So I started practice. I said to my dad at 12 years old, Dad, I think I want to play drums because I want to play in a band. There was a band last night playing in our school dance, and they were really not that good. And I took this girl as a date. It was, I remember it was like the 8th grade. Mm-hmm. And the chaperones came, you know, with us, and they went upstairs. Kind of they were all talking, and the kids were downstairs. And I knew already this band was not like what I was used to. And I said, I can do better, and I don't even know how to play an instrument. And so I asked my dad, you know, can you teach me how to play drums? And he goes, and he was a music teacher, drummer. I go, oh, you're not just going to sit in the drums and start banging away. No. I'm going to get you a practice pad, a metronome. A what? A metronome. Click, click, click. And a book with the rudiments. So I said, you know, I'm an abused child. And so I was there 3 months going tack, 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 and just waiting the day that I would just sit on the drums. And in that period of time, I was really, really studying hard. And then the Vegas move happened. Mm-hmm. So he went first to Las Vegas, and then he was gone. And I went, there's a set of drums there. I'm going to put it on. Put it together. Yeah. And my first beat on the drums, believe it or not, was Honky Tonk Woman.
Wow.
But I thought that, you know, the first thing on Honky Tonk Woman is a cowbell.
Cowbell, yeah.
I thought Charlie Watts was doing that.
Uh-huh.
So I actually put a cowbell on my left side and went gong ging ging gong ging ging gong ging ging ga gong ging ga ging gong ga gong gong ga ging gong ga ging gong. With the bell, I thought it was the hardest beat there was until years later somebody said, brother, that's called an overdub. That's not Charlie Watts. So I'm going, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that I'm playing cowbell and stuff with the left hand? Well, so actually it did good because it created more independence. But from there on, I dropped every sport, judo, everything that I was doing. And it was just obsessiveness with the drums. And of course, it was like the rock music I loved, you know, all the bands of my era. And my dad and his friends started, yeah, you like the Guess Who, and who you're going to see tomorrow? It goes, Steely Dan. Oh, cool. Have you heard John Coltrane? He goes, who? He goes, check this out with Elvin Jones and Brown. So it was like coming jazz over here, Latin over here, Afro-Cuban, roots, then the blues and all the bands that I said, how am I going to digest all of this? Yeah. I need 3 lifetimes. So I'll tell you, I haven't stopped yet. I mean, it's still a journey from the minute I decided when I was 12 years old. I'm still a student.
Well, if you stop learning, you stop growing, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm really excited to even like take lessons with somebody or learn from somebody. And I'm so honored because I'm playing right now in a band that, you know, people can say whatever they say. Oh my God, you're like unbelievable, this and that. But I mean, Danny Seraphin, I mean, I studied that guy. And Tristan Bowden, I studied that guy. And then I was so honored to actually hang with Danny a couple of times. One time when I was with Carl Verheyen, and then on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Tris and I are like friends, and we still are friends. He came to one of my gigs recently that I did at Bogies in LA. My daughter was singing. And, you know, the drummer community is just such a special group of people because we all learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
People can create competitiveness and all that, but, you know, it's just, we admire each other, you know, because we know what it takes to do what we do.
Yeah.
So we always passing on information. Hey, have you checked this guy out? Hey, have you heard about this? Hey, there's a new cowbell holder. Have you heard? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing.
A brotherhood. Yeah.
A brotherhood, yes.
What was the first concert you ever went to?
Well, on my own, without my father.
No, like it could be whatever the first one you remember going to.
Well, I've been going to concerts, of course, with my dad. Used to actually set me in on the weekend in Hotel San Juan, Puerto Rico, put me on a chair and give me a Coke. And then he went, so basically he used to play for like Paul Anka, the Platters, Diana Ross, you name it, Bobby Darin. So I saw all those shows in Puerto Rico and the recording sessions with a lot of great musicians, you know, Cachao, Alex Acuna and all that. But as a teenager, trying to grow my hair as long as possible with the bell bottoms and all that, I think the one of the first ones I think was the Guess Who at the Las Vegas Convention Center.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Steely Dan. I saw El Chicano open for Earth, Wind and Fire. And I saw Chicago with Madura opening.
Wow. That's
in New Year's Eve. And that was a crazy one because I was telling the story the other day to Keith, our guitar player in the band, and he goes, you know, I should have known that music, I had to balance it out because I took a date to that concert with another couple, and I was a senior in Valley High School, and I saw all the bands in the same spot. The stage was about right here, and I saw all the drummers. Drummers were not on big stages and big risers.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like Jimi Hendrix, Mitch Mitchell, they all sat in the floor.
Yeah.
And so did Jeff Porcaro with Steely Dan and Danny Seraphin with Chicago. So I actually was like this, and the bass drum was like right in front of my face. So I looked where the seat were and go like, look, I'm not going to be able to see the drummer from where I went. Do you mind if I go and check him out to see, you know, the drums and all that? And she goes, sure. The concert finished. And I was still like, wow, cool. I went back to the seat and she was like, goes, are you okay? Did you like the concert? It goes, you know what? Next time you come to a concert, you should come by yourself. You know, I mean, so I said, well, I should have learned that lesson.
Was that the last date with this girl?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I never took her to a concert.
Oh, that's too funny. Well, you know, and the moral of the story is don't go to concerts with musicians because, you know, I'll go to the Santa Fe shows. And, you know, last time I was there, I was with Kenny Lee Lewis from the Steve Miller Band.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going, oh, do you hear that bass line? And you know, I'm listening to all the music and you guys are just zooming in on one thing and you're listening to the drum fill or whatever.
You're right.
You know,
you're absolutely right.
You hear concerts differently.
And my girlfriend Kirsten, we were together the first time, and she looked at me and she said, like, honey, do you have any music or do you always live in silence? He goes, well, you don't understand. I have a jukebox in my head. So when I listen to music, all 150% of me goes into that music. Mm-hmm. I don't multitask. Yeah. So I cannot, like, say, do something in the computer or cook fried eggs while I'm listening to, you know, some because my ears will go to that. Is that a 22 bass drum head with a Remo head, or is he using the black dot? You know, is that it sounds like a piccolo snare. They go like, oh, the X were burned. Oh my God, I'm sorry. You know, I cannot do is music or not music. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting how you guys just hear everything differently. Do you have formal any formal training with music?
Yeah, I mean, I when I wanted to, because what I said to you when I started out with rock music and the music of my era and all that, and then I started embracing all kinds of music, and then I had to make a decision. Am I going to be just like a rock drummer or a conga player only, or playing Latin music? And I remember the chefs of the restaurants. There's like a hamburger stand, and then there's a hot dog stand and a pizza place. Then there's like the guys that are really famous, and I don't do it for the fame, but the chef is like a master in cuisine. So I said, if I want to say the word musician, that means that I need to play music. Mm-hmm. And there's hundreds of styles. So I decided, yes, I went all the way, played jazz ensemble in high school, while play with other rock bands, and then I started working really early in the Strip. Davy Reynolds was my first gig at 16.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was playing percussion. So I play percussion and drums, both. Whoever needs me on percussion with this band, drums with the other. By the time I arrive in UNLV and study classical music, percussion, timpani, marimba, the whole works, reading, charts, drum set, jazz ensemble, orchestras. We were lucky here in that era. We had Mung Montgomery, which is the inventor of the Fender bass, mm-hmm. lived in Las Vegas, and Carl Fontana, a great trombone player. So they used to bring their charts to the college band, and we used to like play with them. So it was really, really a great body of digestion of foods of music, like concert band at 12, jazz ensemble at 5, go and play the funky clubs in North Las Vegas until 4 a.m, which Santa Fe did it, then be back at music theory at 8, and so on. So yeah, and
you can sleep later when you're old.
Exactly. But when formal sounds like a weird way, because what I think that we all have indirect and direct teachers. If you didn't go to school or didn't have a teacher with lessons, we have all learned indirectly from people we listen to, mm-hmm. and cop stuff from people just to learn because you admire them. I mean, it's not like I steal, but basically I'm honoring them because I'm learning like all these beats. Like right now, every time I play the ballet, for example, I mean, I'm concentrating on the shows, and I'm looking at the audience, and I'm looking at the guy. But every time I go, pa pa ta kum pa I learned that when I was 13.
Wow. Name that tune, and if you name it, first one to name it will get an autograph poster from Molloy.
That's
okay?
good.
So type it in now. First one to name that tune that he just drummed.
So you know what I'm saying? I mean, there's certain things that it's not like I stole it. I actually practiced it, copped it because I loved it. And so you start accumulating a little bag of tricks and fills and grooves and, Sly and the Family Stone. When I met Greg Errico, the drummer from Sly and the Family Stone, I went like, oh my God, man. How many times I danced to the music. Yep. I mean, and played all these bands, and then one by one. That's why I love drummers, because the same thing, Ohio players. When I was in Columbus, Ohio, through a friend of mine, Mike Johnson, I got to talk to the drummer of the Ohio players, Skin Tight, Fire, and I'm going like, so. Then I met Steve Gadd, I met Jeff Porcaro, and then you start hanging out with Jeff Porcaro. I moved to LA. Carlos Vega was a good friend of mine from high school, and he was the one to play on Inspiration.
Wow.
A lot of people might not know that, but you start. I always say if you really, really are passionate and almost obsessive about something, you go and seek it out, and go and meet your heroes and your inspiration, and. So that's I still do that. I mean, Tris and I went to see Dennis Chambers that was playing with Santana after me for like something like 12 years, something like that. And we both, let's go and see Dennis, man. Yeah, let's go and see Dennis. And we were there, and we just like, oh my God. And after we just like all rooting like a team, it's just a beautiful, I think it's a beautiful thing.
What was your first professional tour?
That's a good question. Yeah, she didn't give me the questions before.
No, I didn't.
No.
I gave you one heads up question. That was it. I didn't give them the
Yeah, my first.
I like to surprise them, guys.
My first professional tour, I have to say, I did a lot of gigs in high school and in town in Las Vegas, David Reynolds and this and that. I think that out of college, that's why I didn't finish college, because I was in college. Of course, we toured with the college band and all that. There was auditions to play with Lola Falana had just signed a big contract in the Aladdin Hotel. So, it was an audition, and it was more like her manager came to see me play and said, this is the cat, you got to hear this guy, this and that. And so I got the gig. And so this is the first time that I was told that I had to tour.
Right.
And I couldn't finish school. I couldn't be in music theory at 8. So we started playing at the Aladdin Hotel, Reno, Lake Tahoe, Atlantic City. We went to Berlin, played a show, and then we started doing all the circuits. So that's the first time that me by myself, I was playing drums, went on a tour where they hand me the boarding pass.
Yeah.
And I was out on my own. Like, what do I do now? I have a hotel room all by myself, and I'm 21. Yeah.
21. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous time to be on the road.
Oh, yes.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I cannot do an autobiography. I cannot talk about the 70s.
Well, you can just change the names,
Hey,
to
thank
protect
you.
the innocent.
Exactly. That's a good idea.
People ask me when I'm going to write my book, and I say I have to go into the witness protection program first.
That's it. I agree. That's what I'm going to have to do.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to copy your idea.
That's it. You can just give me some of the royalties after. So I saw you your first gig with Chicago. Tell me how you got the news that you got that gig.
Let me see. You mean like when I was playing percussion, when I started playing percussion? Well,
percussion.
A lot of people don't realize that it was just a case of events that happened. Tris was playing drums. Drew Hester was playing percussion. Drew was playing percussion, but he also was playing for Tris when Tris left for about a year or something like that. Right. And so he got this gig with Joe Walsh. So he wanted to play drums. He was a musical director, as I understand, for Joe Walsh. So then Chicago wanted to get a percussionist. So Danny, at the time, my brother Danny, was doing gigs with Zach Brown band, but not made a member. So it was a period of time where he was playing more and more and more with Zach Brown, and then he got called to play with Chicago. While that's happening, this is complicated. While that's happening,
are you following everyone?
Yeah, well, that's happening with Chicago. Danny's playing percussion with Chicago and with Zach Brown. I was with Lindsey Buckingham.
Right.
And unfortunately, in January of 2012, our main guy, guitar player, Neil, had problems with his back. He cannot get out of bed to do the tour in UK. Lindsey canceled the tour. So I was out of work. We were supposed to go all the way till April. And basically in January, I'm unemployed.
Wow.
So now I started making phone calls. Bar mitzvah. Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah. This and that. Yeah. Percussion. Yeah. Recording, calling all the contractors, all the gigs, every group, putting out the word. Like I was with Lindsey Buckingham, signing autographs, out of work. Unemployment. And so I started, of course, I told my brother, and then by the time January, February, March came, Danny was saying, I'm doing this gigs with Chicago, if you want to, but I was just made a member of Zach Brown Band. And so you can sub me with Chicago. So I, of course, I say, of course, I love, and Tris is in the band, which I knew, and Lou Pardini, which I knew also. And I love Chicago, and I knew the music very well. But still, you go over there as a percussionist. I knew Lau G very well when he was actually playing with Sergio Mendes before Chicago.
Yeah.
And so I lived that music, you know. And so I came in and learned the show, play one night. I think after the second or third night, I was supposed to do 2 weeks. And then my brother was going to come back and back and forth. And then Robert Lamb came to the dressing room, and I was like, you know, which he never does, you know, basically after the show, he
wants to get out of there.
Yeah, meet and greet, and he goes to the boss. He actually came to the dresser and says, "Hi, you know, we love Danny, but I know he's with Zac Brown Band, and you sound like you've been with us forever." And I thought, well, I kind of been with you forever since you started, because I bought my first album, and I've been listening to you forever. And he goes, well, if you want to hop on the bus and continue with us, I mean, and your brothers was like Brown Band. And so that's when it happened.
Wow.
So all of a sudden I started playing percussion with Chicago, and then I thought it was going to be more like, you know, play with Chicago and continue other things. But man, they go on the train. Chicago, visionary wise to me, it's like a big 50-year-old freight train going forward, and it only stops that little stop, you know, 10-minute. If you don't hop on the train, it's gone.
It's gone, yeah.
So basically it's like a big freight train. So when I started playing percussion with Chicago, it was like, man, it was like over here and over there, and the band was like, you know, it was just a lot of fun. And this guy's like treat me fantastic, you know, it's all like 5-star. And I said, dropped everything.
Yeah.
And on my times off, I did my thing. Like I recorded a CD, my first CD, Wally World, and I would do other things on drums and composition and all that. But it allowed me like a really good digestion of playing with Chicago about 7 to 8 months out of the year. And the rest of the time I was in LA, family, and of course, that being said, it's not that you're with family only 4 months, because my kids came on the road, and I was able to actually visit family in New York. A tour ends in Miami. Okay, I'm going to see my Miami family.
Right.
So that kind of thing. So it was really, really a fantastic journey.
Yeah, it's great when you are on the road and you get to stop, see friends along the way, and family. It's really cool. What do you think is your biggest challenge as a percussionist and drummer? Well,
the biggest challenge is to maintain all the muscle memory for all the instruments. It happens the same thing to B3 players that play bass pedals and the stops, and they play B3. It's different when you go into the acoustic piano. It's a different muscle. You're playing keyboards, acoustic guitar, mandolin, electric guitar, 12-string guitar. It's kind of like different muscles. Just if you don't play all of them and keep up with it, you will, you know, they'll turn on you.
Yeah.
The same thing happens. I mean, you know, you play drums really loud, you start playing a lot of arms. But then when you go and play a soft gig that you need a lot of fingers and sensitivity and brushes, you're hurting.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And then congas has different muscle memory than bongos and timbales and even shaker. People go, oh, shaker, anybody can play shaker. Really? Let me give you a ballad and go like for 10 minutes to see how long you last. So it's all to practice. I don't practice as much as I used to when I was a kid, but you know, I try to play music with people and create music, and you have to keep up. And there's a discipline. I mean, like Lee, you know, I was talking to Lee the other day, Lockney, with Chicago. He practices every day. Like people say, you don't have to practice. You're the trumpet player of the band Chicago. You're Lee Lockney. Well, that's why I have to practice.
That stuff is hard.
Yeah, that's why, you know, I tell you, one of the things that is the hardest things to keep up with yourself. I'm not in competition. I don't want to be better than nobody. I don't want to, oh, he did that, I want to do that. To keep up with myself, that's a necessity for me. Because if I sit on my drums and I listen to something that I did, say with Santana or with Steve Winwood, and I forgot or cannot do it, I'm out of shape.
Yeah.
So I need to keep up with all my vocabulary, and I sleep better at night.
Yeah.
You know, if I can do that. And today, by the way, I practice. I did it on purpose because my little studio is 103.
No
So
air conditioning there, huh?
yeah, you know that hot yoga?
Yeah.
Well, I had a hot little drum studio, so I actually went in there with long pants and long sleeve, and I lasted like 10 minutes before I had to like almost passed out. But I was actually hitting hard, because what that does is like if I can actually play for an hour at 103, I can play the summer tour for 2 hours, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's got to be tough. I'm going to give you a water break while I tell everybody that this is Patty Molloy with Positive Listening Radio. And for those of you who came in late, we are going to be taking comments and questions shortly for Walfredo Reyes Jr. And we know him as Wally from Wally World. And he's got a smart water. He's trying to get smart. We are coming to you live from the Level 9 studios in Las Vegas, with PJ Molloy moderating. He'll be answering your questions in just a few minutes. So if anybody has comments or questions, we're not reading them because we're too vain to put our glasses on. So PJ's going to read them for us because we're all squinting like this, like, what? That's what happens when you're over 40. I'm not going to say anything more than that. Over 40. So anyway, get your questions and comments ready, and we will ask them. We'll ask you for questions in a few minutes. If you could work with one band or musician, past or present, who would it be?
That's a question that I've been asked before, and with only one band.
Well, no. If you can have as many of like put together your dream band. Anybody.
Well, I would actually, if I put together a dream band, without mentioning names or anything, it would have to be a band that is versatile, that I can go left and right. And in a way, that's why I put together this last CD, Life at the Baked Potato. And the reason I started playing with these guys, I started playing my original stuff and rehearse hard stuff. And all of a sudden, these guys can play from a Cuban ballad to Paul McCartney and Wings, we play Chicago, we do blues, we do some jazz, we do some Latin hardcore. So basically, it's almost like a school of fish. You can go anywhere. Oh no, you can only go this way in the aquarium. And it's instead of like, we go anywhere, we go up and down, whatever. You feel so free to basically, you're playing some funky James Brown and turn it into Tito Puente or Eddie Palmieri in a second, and do like we're doing in this little CD, some versions of Sade, and we Latinize it more. We didn't put it on the CD, but that's something for the future. We do Southern California Purple.
Oh, cool.
And we do a little more hip hop.
Yeah. And
I told Robert about that one. I said, well, I want to hear it. And so, a band of musicians that can do everything, and there's no, you can create anything. I like to work with bands like that, and that's one of the reasons Chicago is one of my favorite bands, and I levitated to this because it named me something that they don't do. Classical, jazz, blues, funk, rock, like every genre mixed together, and then filter their way. And it's just really great that actually off the stage is important also, because it's really nice when you're sitting with somebody or with a group of musicians and you can talk from Patti Smythe to Miles Davis with Ron Carter and Tony Williams to Bruno Mars. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not like, Bruno Mars, and it's like, and Miles Davis, who? Miles who? So when you have that big record store off the stage, you can actually, and I really always enjoy, Santana was like that too. And we just like love going in the back of the bus and talk about everybody. Let's check this out on YouTube, YouTube this African band that was totally unknown. you know, the Ipitombi show from South Africa. And have you heard like this Graceland album? Let's check Blacksmith, Black Mombasa. Hey, have you heard about who Salif Keita is? Let's check Salif Keita. I mean, this is Santana. And then all of a sudden he'll go, let's listen to some John Lee Hooker. So it went, you got to be a music lover. And that's why I really, really love. Sometimes I actually listen to classical music like Stravinsky, Ravel, Rachmaninoff. And it just kind of creates this silky thing in my house. And in the morning, when I want to do double espresso, I put some hard rock with double bass drum, and it just energizes me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When I feel a little more romantic, you know, basically you have a glass of wine and some candle, then you put some nice ballad, even a country rock ballad with beautiful lyrics. And like country music have like, man, they got the lyrics down, you know, like Zac Brown Band has amazing love songs. So yeah, I'm like all over the place.
Do you have a favorite Chicago song that you're playing in concert now?
That, you know, after so many albums, 30-something albums, there's so many great Chicago songs. But if I was like forced by come on, okay, all right, okay, name one. I would have to say it's Beginnings. And the reason, and one of the reasons, because the other reasons I have no idea, it's just affected me the way it did when I first heard it back when I was in Puerto Rico as a kid, that actually moved me a level up closer to playing music.
Was it all that percussion at the end?
Not necessarily. I think it's actually the opposite. It was actually the chords and the guitar thing. Like, I tell you, Patty, I'm kind of like confessing now. A lot of people don't.
Confessions with Wally.
True confessions. There's been a couple of times where I'm either behind the percussion and I've been behind the drums when Tris was playing drums. Every time I hear that, I get like goosebumps on stage.
Wow.
I really do. And it's not just because I actually, you know, either on percussion or drums, I'm behind the Robert Lamb that sang it when I heard it for the first time. And here's the horn section playing those great lines and the rhythm section, is because the effect, you know, of the music and what was happening to me at that time. So it's the soundtrack of my life. Chicago has so many eras that is the soundtrack of my own life in the 69, the 70s, and then the 80s. So basically it covered a lot of parts of my life when I was a kid living at home with my mom and my dad, when I was married and my kids were born. So that's, you know, that's a big soundtrack.
Yeah. And
now to be playing it is, you know, I feel like very responsible that I'm sitting in a position that when I said this, I put this on Facebook and I really meant it when Tris left the band and people were just talking like get Danny and do this and that's it. For me to actually, when I sit on my chair of my drums, I actually mentally, it's like a football player or something, you know, you're going to go, you have people out there, they're waiting to see something from you. You are responsible to bring something to the table. And basically I just go out there with Danny and Tris in my heart, really. Yeah. I really do. Out of admiration. No, definitely not like, I'm going to do it better, man. Oh, Danny did it. No, on the contrary. They're all flowing through me. And at different points in the show, I actually play something and you know, Tris is there. Like, you know, man, Tris, I remember he did this so well and I loved it, you know, and then Danny did this. You know, he wrote the book, the original book. Then Tris took over and actually created this consistent every night groove thing that he was like, you can count on Tris, whether he was sick, he ate something bad you know, he had like, oh my God, I'm vomiting before the show, whatever, I don't feel good, this and that. Boom, downbeat, like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Great show, you can die afterwards, but not during the show.
Yeah.
And so I really admire that kind of thing. And so basically, I am playing with Chicago right now, but it's the accumulation of Danny and Tris
And Wally in there too.
and Wally.
Us too.
And the same, exactly. The same thing happened with Santana, by the way, and Steve Winwood. There's no way that you can go into a band where there's with Lindsey Buckingham, the same thing. I honor Mick Fleetwood. I went there with like Mick Fleetwood in my heart, and with Santana, it was Michael Shreve, Undugu, Chester Thompson, the drummer. I mean, I went in.
Those are incredible shoes to have to fill. Man.
It is, and that makes you work harder.
Yep.
So it's like and then of course you depending on where you are on the tour or what tunes you're playing, you get the artists like Carlos going, you're playing it like Graham used to do it, but I want you to play it like, check out how Ndugu played it. Okay, so you listen to it, then you add your thing. I was with Joe Sample, and this is like really funny because I played with Joe Sample for 98, 99. I did a record named The Song Lives On with Layla Hathaway.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing somewhere, and he wanted to do this tune called Put It Where You Want It. And so I immediately went, man, Steve Gadd playing brushes on this. And Marcus Miller. So I started playing like that, and Joe stopped and we're like, what are you doing, man? It goes like, well, you told me to play this tune, Put It Where You Want It. And, I listened to Steve Gadd with Marcus Miller. Goes, no, man, look, man, I know Steve Gadd. Steve Gadd recorded in that record. If I wanted Steve Gadd, I would have Steve Gadd here. I want you to play it like you,
mm-hmm.
like all this stuff with your left hand and playing the Latin thing on the side and the syncopation and all that. And I go, oh, but Steve Gadd go, I don't want you to be Steve Gadd. So when you are allowed or the artist is requesting, don't do it like the original
mm-hmm.
or take something from the original, but do your thing. Then you got permission to not necessarily change it. Like a lot of times they tell me, can you do something different, this and that? I go, really? I love the original so much. No, please. I want to do what Danny did. And they go, well, can you kind of like do a different era, more modern or more this? But, there's certain amount of those tunes are so
iconic. They're,
iconic.
like They Make Me Smile, the end, now more than ever, that film. That's so classic.
Yeah.
That you almost have to play that
that
way.
It's like a hook.
Yeah.
And
it's like not doing the 25 or 64.
Right.
Thing.
Exactly.
You have to play it a certain way. Yeah, Keith can put his own flavor in it, but you have to start it out
right.
the way Terry did it.
It's definitely an honor to do that. And with that being said, then you actually, because it's live and we're in 2012 and I'm 2018. It goes to show you where my head is at. You create, you're still working with this unit now that this mixtures of musicians create a unique thing, because what we created in 2012 with Jason and Tris and I cannot be exactly the same with a different set of musicians.
Right.
You see what I mean? And that's what the beauty that happens with different bands.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go, well, I'm never gonna Terry Kath is not with us, so that's the end. Well, so what happened with Steely Dan? The last my friend was just at a Steely Dan concert. He texted me, oh my God, Steely Dan was burning. And I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna play with Steely Dan because Jeff Porcaro is not playing with Steely Dan, and I'll never go to a Steely Dan concert unless Jeff is playing. Well, Jeff passed away,
right?
And the other head of Steely Dan passed away also. So, but the band that is with Steely Dan right now is honoring Steely Dan in an amazing way. So the music is more powerful than all of us, because the music you create. Like I think, I forgot who said it. I think Robert or somebody said it. Long after we're all gone, the music will live on.
That's right.
And
it's not about one person, because I see a lot of people that say online, oh, Chicago should pack it in now. Peter's gone, and Danny's gone, and Terry's gone, and Walter's gone, and
Where should we pack it?
But I say to them, how would you feel if you went into a new job and said, well, the guy before you is gone, so you should just retire?
Yeah.
It's like saying that. Well, why can't you bring it on to a different era and a different level?
I saw a documentary recently of Dave Grohl, the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Why should they all pack it after Kurt Cobain passed away?
Right.
So Dave Grohl wanted to keep playing. So he started playing with different bands, and he actually started playing guitar, and everybody was all about Nirvana, and he's trying to create music and actually continue, and it's the Nirvana thing, and the Foo Fighters, it was really a rough start, but after a while, look at them right now. They play Wembley Stadium. So you tell those guys he should have packed it up.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl, you should have packed it up after Kurt Cobain. Really, after the Wembley show, they sold out, and they still selling out.
Mm-hmm.
And so who we're musicians. I mean, my dad is 85. He's going to be 85 in June 16. Tell him to pack it up. Are you kidding me? He's still playing.
Yeah.
And he's played with many people, Cachao, and many jazz people, Vegas people, and he'll continue to play until the last breath. We don't pack up.
No. So let's take a couple of questions from the audience that's out here. And so just type your questions. PJ will read them in order. And if you have comments or if you want to have questions, just type them in. I saw a couple that passed before. So type them in. PJ will read them to us. In the meantime, can you give me a story from the road? This is the one I gave you a heads up on, because every time I ask musicians, they say, damn it, I wish you would have given me a heads up on that so I could think about something funny or interesting.
Oh man, that's so tough. I mean, I want to tell maybe a story that is like G-rated, So
no G-rated.
No.
I'll tell you. Okay, one of the best stories I ever heard was when Jason Sheff joined the band. His very first night with the band, he was wearing really tight pants and no underwear, and he goes out on stage and his fly was opened. And so he's playing, and there's a guy in the first row, and he's pointing to his crotch. And Jason's looking at the guy, and he says, he's asking himself, why is this guy pointing? Is this guy coming on to me? And the guy keeps pointing to his crotch. Then all of a sudden, the woman starts pointing to her crotch. He's like, oh, shit, 2 people are coming on to me. Then he looks off stage, and the road manager's going, your fly is open. You're flashing the audience.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
So some woman went and complained that he was flashing the audience, and so he turns around and very discreetly zips his zipper up.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm sure that there's other stories that are kind of crazy, but I have to think of this one, and I don't know why. I was in my first tours with Santana, and we do a spring tour, and it was in Luxembourg. So we arrived in Luxembourg in the spring. So, I bring very little jackets and stuff. So, even back then, the climate change started to really, in the 70s, you had like big snowstorm or snow in the summer tour in Colorado, which actually we were playing with the Dixie Dregs, and snow came down. But this was in Luxembourg, and we arrived, and as you can tell, I'm a friendly guy. I really am one of those guys that do not arrive in a country and turns on the TV and lays in bed watching TV. So I want to experience the food, the culture, the music. What do they play here? What do they like? So Luxembourg is one of the tiniest little countries in Europe. So I went out, and it was just kind of like the only hotel that we could stay. It was a humongous looking motel, but it was really nice. It was like a square rectangle, and the lobby was in the middle. And so nobody told me that the hotel closes a certain time.
Oh.
And so I go out with a T-shirt into the town, which was a little far, And I walked and walked and walked, and there's the town. So I went and had a great dinner. I had a beer. I started talking with some people, and somebody started talking to me. You're a musician, right? He goes, yeah, this and that. We're playing the concert tomorrow. Oh my God, I have tickets. Oh, this is fantastic. And he started talking about jazz collection that he's got of Miles Davis that nobody has.
Wow.
With Tony Williams when he was 16, and it was just like unbelievable. He goes, really? He goes, well, yeah, please, and can I buy you a drink? And so we have it was nighttime now. So the guy, smoking a cigar. You're from Cuba? I have Cuban cigars in my house, but I don't smoke. Mm-hmm. And so I said, actually, that was one of the reasons that I almost didn't want to go because of the smoke. But he goes, man, he continued, I have Elvin Jones, I have Art Blakey. Have you heard Art Blakey live in Stockholm? I go, no. I go, so the guy lured me in after dinner. We went to his house. We spent like almost all night, like until like 2 a.m. And we were having drinks, so my body was hot, having a brandy. And so finally I went, I should go and get some sleep because I don't want to sleep all day and then wake up and do the concert. So I went out, and man, it was freezing, and it was spring, and I'm going, this is crazy. So I started walking to my hotel, walking faster. I'm going, shit. I started running. So I see the hotel over there, and I was freezing. Mm-hmm. What happens? Snowflakes started happening.
Oh, man.
Like little snowflakes. And I'm going, geez, I can't wait. I go running and basically go through the front door. The key doesn't work. So I'm going like, man, what? Are you kidding me? So I saw death. Oh, I really saw like death. Like, what am I going to do? Nobody in the front desk. It was shut down. Wow. Basically, they said, after 12 midnight, the hotel will be closed. That's it. So I was bam, bam, bam. Nobody. And I was going like this. I was just going, geez, should I run all the way to this guy's house? Now I don't know where it is.
Oh, God.
Because I don't know exactly. Yeah. I ran from his house to the hotel. So here I am, long hair, a tie-dye T-shirt, like Santana hat, and I'm going like this, and I'm freezing, and I'm actually started to really worry, like I'm going to get pneumonia or something.
Right.
All of a sudden, it dawned on me, wait a second, one of these windows in the lower floor, that's the percussionist with Santana, Carl Perazzo, played timbales. And I went, so I started looking like a peeping Tom. I started looking at all the windows. I think it was one of these, this one is shut, this and that. Man, so I saw like this, there was like a space like this, and I looked in, and the TV was on, and Carl is there like a cadaver in pajamas, like some kind of like animal pajama or something. I'm going, I can't believe he wears pajamas. So like, he's like this. And I said, Carl. I went boom, 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 boom. Carl. Boom, 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 boom. Carl. And he goes like, is that you, God? So I go, no, it's Wally. He goes, Wally. He goes immediately to the front door. He goes, no, outside. Here. And he goes, Wally, what the hell are you doing outside? And he goes, opens the door like this. I looked like I was in an aquarium, like going like, free, open the door. So I go, not the front door, but I go through the back door like this. And he opens up and goes now to the hotel all the way with his slippers and his pajama. I've never seen Carl like that. This is like, what the hell? I sleep in the nude. You sleep. So the door opened, and I was freezing, and I came inside, and I went, oh man, Carl, do you sleep in pajamas? And he goes, I saved your life. Get the hell out of here. Yeah, I sleep in pajamas. So now I'm confessing that Carl Perazzo sleeps in pajamas. He saved my life. That's one I owe him. That's one of the times I almost died in Luxembourg. But
one of the times. There are more.
One of the times. The other one was like I actually in Rock in Rio, actually with Carlos. Now the audience was like 250,000 people in Maracanã. And I was just like playing. And they rented me this drum set because we couldn't take our equipment. Right. And this drum set was trembling. And the floor tom-tom kind of like, without me knowing, kind of like moved. So I go like this to do a fill, and I went, but I didn't feel anything. I mean, we finished the concert. It was great, this and that. I go into the dressing room, and people went, oh, my God, what happened to you? So I was just soaking red blood and gushing. I mean, I had like a bunch of stitches had to be taken. God, that's what goes to show you. When your music is like really hot, the adrenaline is so powerful. Yeah. I probably, if I would have gone like this right now, I would have gone, I played that show, I didn't feel a thing. So they went after the concert to stitch me up. And the floor tom-tom moved and I went boom, and I didn't feel a thing. So that was scary because everybody thought that I got shot. Yeah. When in reality, it was like I was gushing blood. And so that's another crazy little thing. But I don't have too many, I don't know, too many stories that I can probably tell.
Yeah, you could tell without getting in trouble with somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of like always like a guy that I risk my life to actually get instruments. I mean, I've been to the favelas of Brazil. I've been to places in Indonesia that the promoter had a heart attack when he went, you went where? He goes, yeah, because I need to buy anglongs and the percussion from Indonesia. And I just went outside the hotel and took a cab. The guy went, oh, you're kidding me. But, so I know I'm a very adventurous, that I like the culture, and I actually seek out where to buy. That's why I have a collection of percussion. And so, but, not too many exciting things like Jason's fly.
Well, the world got to see Jason's Willie. So we have a few quick comments to pass on. I saw something earlier. Someone says, what is Rick saying? PJ, I'm buying you PJs.
Rick says, I'm buying you PJs. LOL.
Oh, thank you. I'll start wearing them and see what it feels like to sleep in pajamas.
Well, there's a story about Rocco Prestillo from Tower Power. He sleeps in the nude. And the story he told me was that they were, in a hotel, you go to sleep deeply and then you wake up, you forget where you are. And he got up and thought he was going into the bathroom, but he was leaving the room. So the door, boom, closes behind him. He's naked.
Oh, my God. He thought it was the bathroom.
Yeah. So now he's standing in the hotel in the hallway naked. He doesn't have anybody's phone number, any room numbers.
Oh, man.
He can't get him back into his room. There's no phones or anything. So he has to sneak down the back stairway, and he finds a banquet room. And he gets a tablecloth and puts it around him. Then he has to go into the lobby and convince, and if anybody knows Rocco, he looks like this old salty sailor. He doesn't look like a musician. And he has to convince them that he's with Tower Power, standing there naked with just this tablecloth around him. And he's like, please just call my road manager. He'll, And so, you really should have something to wear. All right. We're getting ready to wrap it up, and we'll take a few more quick comments. And at the end of this, we will go through all the comments, and we'll pick a few people at random to win a couple of things. We have some CDs and drumsticks and posters, autographed posters, and maybe we'll we'll see other things in the future. What we can do, we can raffle off Walfredo
for a day, or
at least a day with Wally.
And let me show you Vegas my style. Hey,
ooh, that's cool.
Starting with Monday, Santa Fe.
That's right. Santa Fe, let's give a shout out to Jerry Lopez and the gang at Santa Fe's Fat City Horns every Monday night at the Copa Room at the Bootlegger here in Las Vegas. It's a great hang, and everybody that's anybody goes to that show. I was sitting there one night, sitting next to Bill Medley from the Righteous Brothers, guys from Elton John's band, Ricky Martin's band.
Yeah, it's an amazing band. Actually, the problem that I have going Mondays to see Santa Fe, even though they start at 7:30, I can't sleep that night.
Yeah.
I cannot sleep. I mean, it's just like I'm in bed like at 3 a.m, like my head is like, whoa, I need to play and practice. So Jerry, you do that to me.
So PJ, you got something from Bruce Fish?
Yes. We have a question from Bruce Fish. He says, what was it like working with Steve Winwood?
It was phenomenal. I mean, I started working with Traffic with Jim Capaldi and Steve Winwood, and rehearsed, and we went 5-month tour, 11 shows with the Grateful Dead with Jerry when Jerry was alive, and we did Woodstock 94. And then 95, we didn't do anything. And then 97, 98, 99, Steve wanted me to work with his band. And I got to work a lot with Steve and became really good friends. I think Steve is I told Robert that him and Steve should get together and write because they remind me of each other. Robert and Steve, they're very quiet, private, and great musicians, great songwriters. They love to listen to many styles of music and many underground kind of things. Steve is all around. Before anybody was doing it, Steve, Arc of the Diver, While You See a Chance was the single. He played all the instruments. So he played drums, he played saxophone, percussion, guitar, and good. B3, obviously. So, he's really great. And then I worked with the second incarnation of the band, which was 2002, 3, and 4. And that was a smaller band that Steve was playing B3 organ with the bass pedals in tribute of all the great B3 players that were passing away, all the old B3 players. And so that was with Jose Neto, Steve, and myself. And we added a percussion and a saxophonist. And that was until 2004. I was going through a terrible time in my life at that time, a really big divorce with the mother of my 3 children. And it came to a point that I needed to be in visitation every second and fourth weekend in the Bay Area. So the judge said, "You're a musician, you got to prove to me. So you want first and third or second and fourth?" And I said, second and fourth. So that locked me in. So I have to be second and fourth, 2:30 Friday, and drop at 6 o'clock. Well, how can I be in England touring with Steve Winwood? Yeah. So basically that it didn't work out. So I stopped touring with Steve in 2004. And then I started freelancing, stayed in LA as much as I could and going back and forth, visitation. So, but Steve is still a great friend and we communicate and he's written some great things. And so did Carlos. I mean, I love everybody I work with. It. There's no animosity. We're all friends. I mean, I went back, played with Carlos 2007 and in 2014. And so, but, once I started with Chicago, I realized that whatever I do cannot conflict with Chicago now, because especially now, well, actually, the minute I joined, I went, this band, this is my first priority. And so I've done many things on the side, but working with Steve was amazing and inspirational outside of the stage as inside on the stage.
Let's give a quick plug with your latest CD, live CD from the Baked Potato.
Live at the Baked Potato. It's just covers, just simple covers, and it was mixed by Johnny Silas Cranfield, which is doing big things now. Pretty soon I'm not going to be able to afford him ever again. He's done things with Pink and Alicia Keys and Chris Lord-Alge, and it was actually mastered by Keith, our guitar player, Keith Howland.
Shout out to Keith Howland.
Yeah, Keith Howland. A lot of people don't realize that aside from being an amazing guitar player, vocalist, and composer, he's an amazing engineer.
Wow. I
mean, he masters and engineers and knows all the ropes, and I always admire that. And by the way, so does the other guys too. I mean, Lou. I've been in Lou's studio. He played on my first CD a song called Espiritual, which features Lou Pardini on keyboards, and he just wails like it's just so beautiful. And Keith plays guitar on another tune. This is my first CD. My second CD, the one that you mentioned, is just my little band in LA that we just go like the School of Fish everywhere. And there's some really great tunes there. We play some Led Zeppelin, Sade, some Latin tunes, some War.
Nice. Just where can they get the CD?
It's in iTunes, Amazon Music, and CD Baby, and Spotify, and all the everywhere.
Cool.
All the everywhere.
Yes. And shout out to Lou L Dog. He calls me Pimo. and I call him L-Bug, so shout out to Lou there too. So thanks, guys. I'm sorry we didn't get to take more questions and comments from you, but the time just flies.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. And
And
even,
by the way, if anybody, I don't bite.
not
So,
unless you ask them to.
yeah. And so, if anybody has like a question, whatever, social media, they can always go, and ask. I mean, I don't have time to actually get into some detail, where was the drum pedal invented or something like that. But, if there's a question like, what do you do? What kind of drum heads, or what do you use in this? What do you use in that? I love talking music, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I love talking drums. I love talking gear. And that's what we do with Chicago when we're in the bus. I mean, we live 22 hours with each other and play 2 hours on stage. So you can, we talk music and have fun and inspire each other. And, that's as important as being on stage.
Right. People are going to want to ask really quickly. I know we got to go, but bus number 2. So now you're on bus number 3. Do you think there's going to be any more videos from bus 3?
We haven't talked about that. Of course, now it's 3 buses, so we split up more because there's more people.
Mm-hmm.
There might not be what maybe we used to have in bus number 3, but there's already fun stuff that Ray, our percussionist, Ray Islas, is putting on the dressing room. I'm thinking of doing something educational. It started out as a fun thing. It's like a Wally warm-up.
Oh, nice.
And that I do, and I have this little percussion app. It's called percussiontutor.com. And Ray says, man, we can do like 1 lesson a night.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so, this is a little inspirational. At the same time, we'll give you a little, because people like to know what happens before you hit the stage.
Right.
Some things remain private, but some things are not hard to figure out. We just goof off and concentrate. And, like I said before, we have a responsibility and a way to deliver this great body of music that is the soundtracks to our lives and to people's lives. So we don't take it lightly.
Right.
I mean, so, before the show, people were warming up there and concentrating and basically tuning in and clicking in our brains to that moment. And then when the show is finished and the whole night when you get in the bus, it's like, so it's like a real satisfaction feeling.
Yeah.
So, Patty, it's been an honor, and I really appreciate you asking me to come on down and talk music.
It was a lot of fun. So for those of you who joined late, we're going to be picking at random some of the people that have joined in tonight. And I'll be private messaging you to let you know that you won a CD or drumsticks or a signed poster from Wally. Hey, are you going to do any Bollywood stuff here in Las Vegas?
I've been asked, but I don't know when, because, we have a really heavy tour. They're requesting me to go back to the Baked Potato and to do some clubs at Bogies and all these clubs. And it's really hard.
You need some downtime.
Yeah, and that probably won't happen until maybe November, December.
Right.
We had April off. And then, sometimes when I have a week off here and a week off. But I actually was thinking, there's a few players that I really like to jam here in Las Vegas. And it will probably, you actually beat me to it. But I was thinking of that, I'll have some of the guys, if I cannot bring these guys from LA here, there's a few cats, hey, like maybe it'll be part of or Santa Fe, it'll be like a quartet Santa Fe, or maybe Jerry and Rashawn, or, so there's a lot of great players here in Las Vegas. Ronnie Foster used to play keyboards with George Benson.
Mm-hmm.
He lives here, and a lot of great musicians. And and so we'll do it.
Great. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And this will be up on demand after this is all over. So maybe we'll do it again next time.
Absolutely.
You have a little break. And for Positive Listening Radio, this is Patty Molloy, PJ Molloy, Walfredo Reyes Jr.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.